All right. Let's go to my friend Danny here. There he is. Bigote himself. How are you, sir?
I'm here.
Good. Reasonably not hungover today?
No, I'm fine.
All right, very
I'm
good.
good. I actually had a good sleep last night.
I did too. Whenever I come up to New York, my wife takes the full shift of the kid. And my kid is 7 weeks old Saturday. Last 3 nights has slept through the night, bro. Can you believe it? And I know the doctors are like, wake them up so they can eat every 3 hours. Bro, no. She'll just get an extra few ounces on all the other meals. I'm not doing that.
That's good. Yeah.
So if there's any doctor watching, go F yourself. I'm not fixing it. But you had a good weekend, yes?
Yeah, good weekend. Just super busy, obviously, covering Bellator 222.
Let me ask you, I thought that the pacing was pretty good.
I thought it was a great event.
Yeah.
Again, I saw it in...
Oh, you were there.
Yeah,
you were there.
I was there.
Okay. So it's different for you. But
I didn't see it through DAZN. But I thought the fights themselves were really good. The quality was pretty good. The crowd seemed into it. It was a good night for Bellator.
All right, very good. So let's do this. How were the calls, my friend?
Very good. Calls were very good.
All right, I'm excited to hear it. So why don't you just take it away? You lead the ship here, Maestro.
All right, let's do it. Well, a lot of storylines coming out of Bellator 222, but I think the following is the biggest. You tell me.
Okay.
Lukey, Jake from Oregon, calling on a somber matter. The great Chael Sonnen retires, undefeated, holder of multiple titles in multiple weight classes, admired across not just our nation, but the world. What's your thoughts on it? Will MMA as a sport recover? And if so, how long will it take? Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. The greatest of all time.
Yeah, certainly. He is.
Heard he tapped Tito Ortiz.
Yes. What is Chael's legacy? Boy, it's a complicated one.
Very.
He is something of an overachiever. He is a guy, I think the way I think about him, Danny, I don't know about you, I think of him as somebody who maximized every opportunity imaginable with every tool in the tool shed, whether that was timing, whether that was his outright ability, whether that was his ability to sell a fight and promote and become a certain kind of character. I think you have to include the fact that also through performance-enhancing drugs. So some of these are by illicit, some of these are by illicit means, but either way, in the end, he ended up being incredibly adored. Although for a time he was not. Folks, I remember a time in MMA when he was very polarizing, but not so much the case anymore. But to me, that's who he is. He is a guy that tried to find every rung on the ladder to get to the top. And I don't think he got quite as far as he wanted to. But all you can ever ask is that somebody just wrings the sponge dry, and he did.
Yeah. I think his legacy is that you can be a very, very successful fighter, one of the most successful fighters in MMA without earning any title, without earning a world title.
That's interesting.
I think he
that's cold comfort for them, though.
He's been the main event of every card he's fought in for the last, or at least, one
top
two, or at least co-main event, but definitely like one of the bigger fights on the card. He always fought the best. If you just go down his resume, it's ridiculous the competition that he fought. He never got a step down in competition, never refused to fight, and he became a star in the sport. And I think, he did all that without ever holding a title, and I think that's important. I think your brand, the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself, it can take you pretty far in this sport. You don't necessarily need the title to be successful.
People always talk about Vitor as the poster child for TRT and then what subsequently happened. Here's my theory on this, because this is true. And I'm not going to go on some rant, so just hear me out for a second. I'm just trying to make an honest point. The entire history of anti-doping is tied to media backlash and hysteria in terms of the growth of organizations and the development of ideas. So like WADA came out when there was a pushback. All kinds of international organizations were created when the media piled on some kind of scandal. Anyway, TRT was our scandal, and it was when there was pushback to it that UFC decided to go with USADA. A big part of that is what Sonnen did, where these guys were like, I need this to compete, I need this to live, I need this for health. And, let's be honest, everyone was kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They didn't really need it, but they were claiming that they needed it. Anyway, a big part of the reason why we have USADA, it's not strictly, of course, Sonnen's issue. There's all kinds of guys using it. But I would actually argue he was a pretty big reason in terms of media visibility for why the media turned on it, and then we now have our current situation. So
Yeah. He was also one of the very few people that have managed to turn their career around from that type of situation and deal with the backlash from the media, backlash from the fans, because uh, when was the last time? I mean, when was the last time you like these kind of things got brought up as far as like failing drug tests and whatnot in his career? Like, I feel like that kind of got put in the in.
Let me tell you something. Every other MMA fighter who's failed a drug test, virtually, and I could name them, they get real bitter when you bring it up. Chael was open and honest about it, and I think the fans were like, "Okay, we forgive you."
Exactly.
There's a bunch of other jabronis right now who I could name. I've mentioned them before about failing drug tests, and then I've had a couple of them confront me about it. I'm like, "What do you want me to do? You want me to not mention the fact that there's a fact of your existence that you failed drug?" I'm as sympathetic as anybody about you failing a drug test, and you want to get in my grill about it? Okay.
Chael was so upfront about it is that you didn't even need to ask him about it. He'd bring it up himself, and he was always very honest as far as, that matter went. And I feel like, that's part of why it never got really brought up again, because he answered all the questions.
You know what? I've never.
Once you do that, then what else is there to, bring up?
Last thing I'll say about this, I would love to know what Anderson Silva and John Jones think about him.
Yeah.
I would love to know. Not that their version is the correct version or that our version is the correct version, but I would like to hear theirs, because the MMA media is kind of like, oh, Uncle Chael, elder statesman. That's fine. I don't really have a problem with it, but they might have a different one. I don't know. I'd like to hear it.
Yeah. I also wonder how much success, is attributed to the backlash, because like John Jones is a champion right now. Let's say Chael Sonnen would have been destroying everybody and just ruled over Bellator. I wonder if these things would have came up again. Or is it because he had a couple setbacks, then maybe people kind of, I don't know, discard it. I don't know.
I just remember when he got fired from Fox Sports when all the tests came back positive. And to look at him now, it's like, what an incredible image rehabilitation.
He's at ESPN. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, all right, there you go.
All right, let's talk about one of the major title fights that went down at Bellator 222.
This is Joe out of South Florida. Regarding Rory MacDonald, do we think that the fight against John Fitch, he was just having a bad mental night, bad camp, because he looked pretty good against Nino Gracie? What are your thoughts? Let me know, guys.
You go first, Danny.
You know what? I think you were very skeptic of Rory MacDonald entering this fight. You're very skeptical of where he was at mentally, because like
still am, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, me watching that fight, that looked like a world-class fighter out there. And Neiman Gracie, undefeated, the dude's no joke. And it was one thing if, Rory MacDonald managed to stuff his takedowns and then it was just a stand-up battle and he won there. You go, okay, well, we know that Gracie, although a very complete fighter, that's not where he shines best. But Gracie took him to the ground, mounted him at one point, and Roy was able to fight that off. He got dragged into the deep waters. He got dragged into literally the worst position you can be with a Gracie. That is mounted. And he survived.
Back,
yeah. Well, I think he did have his back at one point. Yeah.
Did he have both hooks?
Times. Can't remember. I think at one point he did. Okay. Yeah. And he was able to fight off. And look, he's not the same Rory MacDonald in the sense of like he's this angry guy that's out there to sort of like this beast. But the one we have now is still pretty darn good, man. World class fighter. And I don't think.
By the way, I predicted him to win, just so everyone knows. Like, asked to make a pick, I picked him. It wasn't like I thought he wasn't going to win.
Yeah, I don't think he needs the rage to be as good as he can be.
Let me see how that goes against Douglas Lima the second time.
Yeah,
that's going to be the true test. So I'll say this. I'll say this. You're right. Against most opposition, I'll dial back a little bit of my skepticism because he definitely looked like a guy in command, didn't panic, worked. You could see him working through solutions.
Wanted to win.
Yep, wanting to win. All great signs. But there wasn't a lot of physical damage that he took. And that's been the one thing I've been wondering about in the Mousasi fight, and more in particular the Stephen Thompson and then really the Lawler fight. What happens if Douglas Lima puts it on him, physically puts it on him?
Yeah.
Will he then have the will to continue back? The answer is, listen to what I'm saying. I am not saying no, but I feel like I need to see it before I believe it.
So you're saying no?
No. I'm saying I don't know. What's wrong with saying I don't know?
I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
I'm kidding. I'm just,
like I don't know. I don't know what's going. I don't know
we
what's going to happen.
We don't know. That's the reality. But
because Lima's gotten. Let me ask you this: you watched the first Lima MacDonald fight, right?
I did. Yeah.
Close, but I thought you could make a case for Lima, but I thought Rory won.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But Lima put it on him a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, going into that, final round, it was kind of up in the air a little bit.
And what was the key about that? He had to dig deep, Rory did.
Very
and
deep.
he did.
He did.
Credit to him. But I think Lima's gotten better since then.
He has.
So now it's an interesting question.
Very interesting, yeah. I guess we'll wait and see what happens, but nonetheless, I do think this is a hurdle that he passed. I feel like
Sure. Yes, I agree with that.
I'm a lot more confident in him entering a fight now than before.
He's not frail, and he's not fragile.
Mm-hmm.
He's tough as nails and smart and still obviously very good. I just want to see what happens when somebody physically puts it on him. Can he rally like he did in other occasions? That's what I want to see. That's it.
We'll find out.
He looked good. You're right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the other title fight that went down on that card.
Hey Luke, hey Danny, hope you're doing well. My name is Nick, I'm recording this in Gothenburg, Sweden. Big fan of the show. And I just want to know your opinion on two statements regarding the Bellator fight between Kyoji Horiguchi and Darrion Caldwell. I couldn't help to think that it wasn't so much Horiguchi who won the fight, even though I feel he's the rightful winner. It was more Caldwell who lost the fight.
That's interesting.
I felt he was doing quite well on the feet, and just holding Horiguchi down didn't really do him any favors. Is that fair to say, or am I seeing this the wrong way? And the second statement is, does this win make Horiguchi the greatest Japanese fighter of all time? Love to hear an answer to those two statements. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
I feel like this guy works at NPR or something.
Yeah.
That voice. Man.
Coming to you live from our WAMU 88.5 stations.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, second question, he's pretty clearly the best Japanese fighter of all time. Now, I don't think he's the most important or celebrated. That would clearly belong to...
He's got 2 belts.
Right. So that would clearly...
Easy.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like how do you weigh a Hidehiko Yoshida, a gold medalist from judo, like these incredibly important people who also fought in Pride, or Kazushi Sakuraba, who, was part of the Kekutogi boom and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of different pieces there.
I mean, Sakuraba was a superstar. Kid Yamamoto was a superstar.
For people who don't know, imagine Hulk Hogan in his prime in terms of popularity, and imagine that dude also fought MMA. That's what Kazushi Sakuraba is.
We're not talking about greatest where those kind of things are.
Correct. We're talking about best Japanese.
Best.
Yeah, he's the best. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
The best.
I mean, dude, think about it. For a time, you had
still got plenty of life left.
Dude, I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
These guys at American Top Team, they're like, you don't even understand how good this guy is. Dude, he's fast and he's smart. He makes quick. Like, it's one thing to be physically quick, and it's another one to make quick decisions that your body can act on.
He's clever.
Did he look tired in the 5th round? Even a little bit.
Nope.
Nothing.
And I think it's big that he's coming up from flyweight because there was a clear size advantage between him and Darrion Caldwell. And I feel like that's, not having to kill his body to 135 definitely attributes to his cardio.
Yeah, I agree with that, certainly. In any event, so he's definitely the best one. In terms of, like, Caldwell losing the fight, yeah, man, like I talked about, I wonder how you felt. Like, I think what Caldwell was telling himself was, well, Kyoji's not doing anything while I'm down there, and I'm the one who put him there.
Yeah.
So in the end, that has to count for something. But practically, it does count for something. Just not enough. Not enough. And honestly, I gotta say this about Darrion Caldwell. I really like the guy. If you ever watched him wrestle in college, he was just a phenom. I'm not seeing enough development in his game, man. I need to see another step up in the striking. I need to see another step up in the guard passing and in the ground and pound.
Ground and pound, yeah.
It's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird fight. I was watching it. I was also, tweeting, and I was doing a few other things for work. So I wasn't catching, I wasn't just solely focused on the fight. And I think I tweeted something from the MMA Fighting account like, I think Horiguchi needs a finish here entering this last round.
Get torched?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. But looking back now, like it was clear who was in control. Caldwell was dictating where the fight was at, but Horiguchi was the one that was always on attack. And I think ultimately that's what won him the fight. And yeah, I think with Caldwell, he was in positions to win the fight. He just, for example, just stood there and, I mean, not stood there, but just kind of just controlled them and held them there and just took elbows and punches. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think, some things get interesting as far as like the grappling, like sure. But like the ground and pound was there. I don't know why he just didn't activate it. It'd be a good question to ask him.
It's hard to control and to throw at the same time. It takes a master.
But I mean, he had him pinned. Like his legs were pinned. I felt like he was in
if
a
his
pretty
back
good
is up
position.
against the fence, it's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to, at least meaningful ground and pound.
But watching that fight, weren't you glad a little bit? And I'm not saying I'm glad that Darren lost, but I'm glad that the judges saw the fight the way they saw it.
Oh, for sure.
Because it says something about sort of the development in the sport and the way we're like analyzing it. Because it was clear that Horiguchi was the one trying to do the most damage and doing the most damage in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was tweeting before like, oh, these judges are going to mess this up because I just knew they were, and they didn't. And I was like, and Douglas Crosby was one of the judges. I was like, oh, Douglas is about to give us the old okie doke here, but he didn't. So in the end, you're right. But I still believe, I don't know if you agree with this, but maybe you do or you don't. If that fight had been judged under one or pride rules, where the fight is judged as a whole, Kyoji would have been the easy winner.
Yeah.
I sweated it because of the 10-9 must system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the top control, because it usually means a lot for some judges.
North American ones.
Yeah. All right, well, let's discuss Aaron Pico's loss against Adam Borics.
All right, let's hear it.
That was a weird one, man.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Anna from Queens. There were a lot of
Shouts out
awesome
to
Bellator
Queens.
fights Friday night, but I have to ask about Aaron Pico. Scott Coker said he's not giving up on Pico. I was just wondering what you think is actually next for him. All right, thanks, guys. Love the show. Bye.
They better give him somebody they pulled off of bum fights. They better give him somebody he can absolutely demolish. Like, look, that's a setup. That's called building talent. That's how, folks, that is how the sausage is made. You take somebody who's got some promise and you give him somebody who probably doesn't. Adam Borics clearly has promise. They were giving him a guy from
he's undefeated.
From an elite camp.
Yeah.
Who made that call? Who made that call? I cannot believe they agreed to that.
Yeah. And I asked him that. I asked him, I'm like, do you not want to be babied into his career? Like, why are you taking all these tough fights? And Aaron Pico gave me an interesting answer that I kind of wasn't expecting. He's like, yo, it's, talk to the matchmakers. But then he went on to say, like, look, I know for a fact they're offering these type of fights to people my experience level, and they're not taking it. They offer those fights with me against very experienced people, and they're not even taking it. So, like, what makes you think a guy that's like 1-2 or 2-3 or whatever is going to take a fight with me? And I think that brings up an interesting point. But there's got to be a way, man. There's got to be a way to get these people to fight him.
There's a guy on the regional scene.
Look, Dylan Dennis is a really good fighter in the sense of like his jiu-jitsu background. Like, he's super legit as far as that goes, and he's getting fights.
Yeah. Here's the deal.
I know
it's
they're
not
two different fighters.
They don't want to fight him ... at a certain price. Now, maybe you don't want to overpay. I do not believe for a second that they can't find the right talent to fight him, even for a moderate price. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sure. Listen, I am not saying people don't turn him down. I don't believe you. You ever seen that the GIF with Will Ferrell? I don't believe you. Yeah. That's me. I don't believe you. I don't believe that. I'm not saying that Aaron's not telling the truth. He probably is. Again, people I'm certain are turning down fights. Yeah. That's not a reason to give him Adam Borics.
Yeah.
Because look at the alternative. This is better. This is what you wanted. A guy who has all the ability in the world and is sitting at 4-3. This is the optimal outcome. Clearly, it's not.
It's a very frustrating thing to watch because if you look at any fighter that's 6-7 fights into their career, there's a clear difference between Aaron Pico and somebody that has that many fights. Aaron Pico's really, really good. You just watch any of his fights, even in defeats, like he's doing some things that a lot of people that would have his record wouldn't be able to do. It's just he's doing it against guys that are so experienced. Like what Adam Borics did, that flying knee, a guy that's 5 fights in is not going to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? So you're exposing Aaron Pico to things that he's never seen before, and he's frankly not ready for it. Not because he's not good, because he's inexperienced. So he should be fighting guys that are, close to his record. And it's frustrating because most of the comments that I see online is just like, nah, he's overrated. Media hyped him up. He's got no chin. He's not what you thought.
Media did hype him up.
Yeah, of course, but for a reason. I mean, look at his record. Look at what he did to Leandro Higo. You know what I'm saying? But he clearly needs to step down in
I
competition.
got to tell you, the thing that people keep doing, like, oh, he's got no chin as the explanation. Dude,
you take that shot.
Dude, these guys take bombs, and then the reaction is that they can't take a shot. Yeah, not that one. Yes.
A flying knee, sure.
Yes.
You know, like,
yes, they can't take a Moab straight to the jaw. Yes, you're right. They cannot.
Are you kidding me? He didn't survive a flying knee. Like, what's wrong with
It's like, dude, like, are y'all like, this is not. And then remember they said the same thing with Sage, and then it turns out Sage had his whole shit broken. And they were like, "Oh, right, like maybe that's not there." Yeah, dude,
it's kind of a hard punch. Yeah.
Well, then even I went back and I watched the Corrales fight just to make sure. Dude, he was standing there trading, and Corrales was going to the right side, and Pico wasn't addressing it at all. And I don't even think noticed it was coming. If you take a shot that you don't see coming, it's going to hurt in a really bad way. Yeah. Am I saying he's got the world's best chin? Maybe not that necessarily. But like,
by no means a weak chin.
Right, yeah. But is this the reason why he's losing? Because he just can't take any... I've seen guys who can't take punishment. It's very different. It's very different. I don't mean to besmirch him, but one of the guys who was like this was a guy by the name of Jonathan Goulet. Jonathan Goulet was a French-Canadian UFC fighter for a time.
Some of the
very talented, very talented martial artist. The ability to take a shot was not one of his better things. And is he Nogueira? Is Aaron Pico Nogueira? Okay, he's not Nogueira. But this idea, like, well, he just can't get it right. Again, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very frustrating situation. I would like to see him take some time off, stay at Jackson Wings, because I did see a difference in game planning.
Sure.
I feel like strategy-wise, he came in there. He was fighting a lot smarter.
Still, there's another level to this.
But yeah.
The metagame thing, where he's just doing the same thing over and over again. He needs to, like, make people react and think and get confused. You know who's really good at that? Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen is extremely good about making you look this way and then the shot comes this way. He's very, very gifted at that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about his opponent. I feel like most of the talk leaving that matchup was about Aaron Pico, but let's not forget the winner, the guy who we just had on the show.
Hi, this is Mark Bolabash calling from Budapest. Bellator 222 saw Aaron Pico matched up against Adam Borics with a lead-up that shunned the Hungarian almost completely, and actually Aaron Pico as well. Honestly, what's your take on Boric's ability and about the height he can ascend to in his division? Was his win a fluke, or how you thought it would go? Thanks again for doing a great job, and come visit Budapest someday.
Yeah, for sure. Buy me a ticket, homie.
Okay. First of all, that guy had to be a pro broadcaster, right?
Yeah, that quality.
That was ridiculous.
Quality, yeah. It's probably better quality than our show.
It certainly is. Okay, so was his win a fluke? Absolutely not. I just went through and showed you, like, every small hole that Pico was leaving, it wasn't like, oh, you're like, well, Pico didn't control enough, so therefore Borics got out. You have to recognize the opening, and then you have to recognize what to do about it. If you think, like, for example, if I took someone off the street and I had a blue or a purple belt control them, that blue and the purple belt is not going to have the same kind of control as, let's say, the recent UFC signee, Rodolfo Vieira. They're going to miss things. They're not going to have as tight control. Is that person off the street going to know what to do? They're just going to sit there and get destroyed by some purple belt. They're going to get mounted and then choked out or whatever, arm broken. Right? But that doesn't mean you had the exact same level of control. There was a dip there. So my point being is, yes, there might have been some pieces to Pico's game missing in the application, but Borics recognized all of them and reacted to all of them. Now, had there been someone like Khabib on top of him, maybe it would have been a bit of a different story. But I thought he actually looked really good. And again, he's had multiple flying knee KOs at this point. So that's not an accident either. He's good.
Very good, yeah. And and he's only 25, man, and he's at a great camp. I think he could be like something big for Bellator in the next couple of years.
25 years old is nothing.
Nothing.
Healthy, you know. Oh man, and I wonder how big it can be. Have you ever been to Budapest?
Never.
They're good things. Budapest. I've heard it's nice. I've heard it's really nice. Their democracy's having a little trouble with old Viktor Orban, but yeah, no, I there's nothing fluky about it. Now, how good is he relative to the top of that division? I don't know. I would love to see him in the tournament. I think it'd be great if he was there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick. He's also pretty big. Like if
you saw him in person,
compared to Pico, he was a lot bigger. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Pico is how big would you say for 145 on the small side?
It was weird because we're about like the same size as far as like, obviously he's a lot more muscular than I am.
Nuh-uh.
But yeah, he is. In case you didn't know,
I find that very surprising.
As far as like body frame, like we're about the same height, you know. that was sort of like the same size in that regard. And when I talked to him, he seemed a little parched. He seemed he was having trouble with the weight cut. So
Borics?
I don't know. No. Pico.
Oh, Pico.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird because it's like I feel like you should be making this kind of not comfortably, but
Right. Borics was cutting 20 pounds. He
right.
said.
Yeah.
Big
Borage seemed
boy.
like the
Jesus.
fresher fighter, but I don't know. It was weird.
All right. Want to do a couple more of these?
Yeah, let's do it. So something interesting that came out of that whole fight week was, first of all, just the cross promotion in general, and then Scott Coker had a few things to say. So let's discuss that.
Hey, Luke, Danny, Nino from Washington Township, New Jersey. How you doing? I had a question here for you. So recently, Scott Coker has come out in an interview and said that he wouldn't be opposed to a Bellator versus UFC event.
Yeah, it's a nothing
I
headline.
was just wondering who would be your top pick for a main event. What would be the most interesting fight, and your guys' opinion for a Bellator fighter and a UFC fighter? Thank you. Love your show. Want to know what you think about this.
All right. By the way,
Yep.
Scott Coker being like, yeah, I would love to do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sort of like me being like, yeah, I would love to win the lottery. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love. You know what I mean? I'd love to be a movie star. I'd like to do a lot of things. It's just not going to happen. So
You never know.
it's not going to happen. You think
Bro,
you think they're going
Conor fought Floyd Mayweather.
Okay. You want to bet everything I own it doesn't happen in my lifetime? Well,
Sure.
I'll bet you this way. As long as Dana White's at the UFC, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's the issue.
Yeah.
Now, if he leaves, who knows? Fantasy matchup. That's an interesting one. I would say Pitbull versus Patricio Pitbull versus Max Holloway is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Be a fun one.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. I think with the whole
champ, right?
Yeah. With the whole bantamweight conversation, why not, Cejudo, Horiguchi?
Hell yeah. That's a great one.
I think the winner there, you could easily say they're the best.
By the way,
bantamweight.
Horiguchi could win that one too, bro.
Yeah.
Don't think he couldn't.
And the winner there is the best bantamweight at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
That'd be a great one. That's a really great one. Wow.
Yeah, that'd be it. Also, are you curious for Ryan Bader's DC? I kind of am. A little.
No. That one seems fairly straightforward to me. No?
I would favor DC heavily, but I feel much different about this matchup now than when Bader was in the UFC.
Sure. But Bader's got his hands full with Lyoto. Do you think he beats Lyoto in the rematch? That's the big one.
That's another question that they asked. So we'll
is it?
leave
Okay.
that for later on.
All right.
What else?
Do we have any update on Kevin Lee?
He hasn't replied, which
Sweet.
is usually he's great with with getting back to people, but I don't know. He hasn't gone back to me. So I guess let's just give it a few more minutes and see what's up.
All right. That's fun.
Yeah.
Sick start to my Monday, brah.
What can you
Bro,
do,
I've been in this business since 2006.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look at me now. I got a studio show. How much bigger does my career need to get before this doesn't happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, because it always happens at every level. And look, there could be some kind of miscommunications. I'm sure it's totally innocuous. I love Kevin Lee. But I'm just saying, like, how many times, like what I got to do? I got to be, I got to be a show on NBC or something. I got to have the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
I wonder. You got real quiet when I asked that question. Why is that?
Huh? No, nothing.
Why can't we ask these questions
man.
Why can't we ask these questions out loud?
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I don't know why.
It's like herding cats with these fighters, man.
Yeah, it's weird. And I mean, Kevin, as I said, like Kevin's never flaky or anything like that. Like it's weird.
Kevin's great. I'm sure it's some kind of
Kevin's
misunderstanding. I'm just saying
know.
I just keep wondering how I escalate through the levels, and that aspect of trying to get fighters on your show never changes. It never changes. So it's just a fact of existence. All right, let's do some more calls.
All right. Speaking of Cejudo and the bantamweight division, this was a bit of an interesting question. For me, it's an easy answer, but I don't know if you feel any different. So here goes.
Hey, Luke. This is D Money from South Riding, Virginia.
D Money.
Chantilly. I just wanted to know your opinion on who had a better win streak, Henry Cejudo or Dustin Poirier. I don't really have a take, but let me know your thoughts.
I'd say Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
But that's a tough one.
Really?
By the way, he's from Chantilly, old Drab Tilly. People know about Drab Tilly. in DC. God. All right, so look.
I don't think it's
that Moraes win.
Question.
That Moraes win is unbelievable, and it's probably better than any of the wins that Dustin has. But he asked about the win streak.
Yep.
So the DJ fight, you can make a case he didn't lose.
Mm-hmm.
The Cejudo,
or he lost.
Sorry, that he lost.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people think DJ won.
Yeah, it was close.
Then you have the one against TJ, which was impressive but short, so it's hard exactly what to know. So those two is interesting. The Moraes fight is just like the most legit. I don't think Dustin has one as legit as that. But in beating Pettis and then stopping him, and then stopping Gaethje, and then Alvarez, and then now this with Holloway, to me that's a better 4-fight body of work.
Yep.
To be honest.
Yep, I agree. I think if you look at individual fights, like dude, beating Demetrius Johnson, especially at that moment in his career, that was big. You know, beating TJ Dillashaw is big. But if you actually string those together, because Cejudo also has, and I'm not trying to be like disparaging, but Cejudo also has wins over Sergio Pettis, who's a very good fighter, Wilson Hayes, who's a very good fighter. But I mean, Dustin Poirier, you just go down the line and it's just studs, back to back. So for me, it's Dustin Poirier.
But I will say that Cejudo win over Moraes,
it's big.
That is so goddamn impressive.
Yeah.
So impressive.
A weight class above too.
It's ridiculous.
Poirier's staying out.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I know what you mean. But to beat Moraes the way he did, that was extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. Yeah. So that one win is better, but everything else, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Next.
All right, well, you brought it up, so Bader-Machida. Let's see what's up.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Jordan the Jank calling from Gainesville, Florida. It's been a while
out to
since I've
Gainesville.
called. Hope you guys are doing well. My question is,
Florida?
How do you guys feel about Machida against Bader? Is it a wash? I personally feel like it's just not a good matchup kind of at all, I feel like, for Lyoto, and he is one of my absolute favorite fighters. It's not easy to say this. I'm just trying to be honest about it. How do you guys feel? Thanks, guys.
Do you understand what he means by that? Lyoto knocked him out in the first one.
Yeah, I know, but he feels like Lyoto
is older now,
and
Bader's much better.
We've seen him lose before. After that Bader fight, 2. I'll tell you right now. So he lost to Phil Davis, he lost to Chris Weidman, then he had that bad losing streak of Rockhold, Yoel Romero, Derek Brunson, and then since he hasn't lost. So I do feel like when Bader fought Machida, that might have been prime Machida.
Yeah, look, I'd probably favor Bader at this point, but Machida's still pretty crafty. He's pretty smart. He's preserved himself.
Against Sonnen, he looked really good. I don't know if it came across to you the same way on TV or DAZN, the streaming app.
In what way?
But I feel like he looked better than... That was his best performance in like the last 3-4 years. Like he was quick. I mean, maybe it's something about the opponent as well, but he looked really good, man. Machida's far from washed.
I thought he looked great. I think Bader's a different cookie than Chael.
Of course.
Obviously, he can wrestle, but for folks who didn't pay attention, since that Rashad fight, Bader has showed incredible striking. Remember, he didn't take a single punch in the entire heavyweight Grand Prix. I mean, it's ridiculous what he can do, but he can still wrestle as well.
Yep.
And I think he's physically stronger than Machida. So it's an interesting matchup, but like, I don't have existential dread or something for Machida's chances. I think
Machida can pull it off. Why not?
Yeah, I just probably favor Bader.
Yeah.
But do you think Bader's going to go in there and just mop the floor with him? Like, maybe he does. Maybe. But that's not like, I don't know. It's not like Dylan Dance versus Max Humphrey, where you're like, how much punishment is Max going to take before they call it a day? Yeah. I don't quite see it like that.
No, not at all. I think it's pretty competitive, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Lyoto picks up a win there. But I'd favor Bader slightly. But look, Machida's very elusive. Dude, those flying knees against Sonnen. Mm-hmm. When have we seen him throw flying knees like that in his career? I don't remember.
I'm sure he has. I can't.
Really?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I felt like that was a bit of a new tool.
By the way, there's this name. If I don't mention it on air, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. It's the guy I talked about who was from Marcelo Garcia's, who's so nice, from BJJ Fanatics. Do you know who I'm talking about? God, what is his name?
Mateus Dinsin? Is it that guy?
No, not Mateus Diniz. God,
Diniz?
Bernardo Faria. That's the guy. Bernardo Faria. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
He one time showed me how to do shoulder pressure maybe 5 years ago.
It's deadly, man.
Bro, I thought my jaw was going to go shooting out of my face. It was so painful. And he looked at me. You guys know Bernardo Faria. He's bald. He's a multiple-time black belt world champion. He always smiles. He never stopped smiling. And he looked at me after dude, my jaw seriously hurt. I was in tremendous pain. And he lets go, and I was like, that was really bad. He's like, yeah, man, if it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. And just kept on smiling. Like, he was so happy about it. So that's when I talk about, like, you got to control Bamas like that, you know? There you go. Sorry. Bernardo Faria.
But, hey, I'm all in for Machida Bader. By the way, what weight class would you rather have Machida fight for the belt in? Middleweight or light heavy? Do you have a preference?
Well, I guess if he's fighting Bader, he's fighting.
I'm more intrigued in Machida Bader than Machida.
Yeah, I guess light heavy, but I guess light heavy.
Yeah.
And then Mousasi has a title fight this coming weekend against Rafael Lovato, right?
Yeah,
so
that's gonna be a good one too.
All right, let's do one more, and then I guess if Kevin Lee's not here, we can just go and commit ritual suicide.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Yep.
All right, I'll let you pick. Let's see. We got. What do you think is the most useful, successful martial art in MMA? What happens if Poirier wins? Home Nunes breakdown.
Let's do Poirier.
All right.
Hi, this is David from Tampa. I was wondering if, in an alternate universe, if Dustin Poirier beats Khabib, do you think Conor tries to fight Dustin or still goes after Khabib?
So here's my thought on that.
First of all, no alternate universe. I think the odds are not in favor of Poirier, but I think he could potentially pull it off.
Bro, anybody who thinks that Poirier has no chance to win,
you're crazy.
Again, Khabib is your rightful favorite. Fine.
Yes.
I very much take seriously Dustin Poirier's ability.
He's a threat.
You'd be foolish not to. So, I think that Khabib gets an immediate rematch. He'd be losing his title. He'd be losing his title in the first defeat of his career. There's no way they don't run that back. And
really?
Yeah, and here's the thing.
You don't think Conor can sneak in there and then Conor might like his chances against Poirier, keeping in mind that he has a win over him, and then if he does win, then you can potentially get a Poirier Khabib 2 or McGregor Khabib 2.
I have a feeling that if Dustin wins, it's not going to be one of those things where he stops all the takedowns and then just knuckles him into the dirt.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's going to be back and forth with Khabib controlling him and getting into advantageous spots and really hurting Dustin. Dustin finding a way to hang on and then rocking him and this going on for round after round, in which case either guy would be able to claim, oh, with a few adjustments, I can go and win this, versus let's just say Dustin went in there and just obliterated him, like made him look like an amateur. Well, then you could say, all right, well, there's no, like in the case for Stipe versus DC, my whole point about this was, yes, the fame element didn't work in your favor because you explicitly rejected it. But more to the point, the fight was signed in January. You had an entire season Ultimate Fighter. You fought in July or June or July, whatever it was, 6-7 months later, and you got beat inside a round. What is the case for a rematch? There is none. You can make another one outside of it, winningest fighter in the division as the champion. But like inside what happened in that octagon, there is no case for a rematch at all.
Yeah.
Okay? So imagine he does something like that. Then the Conor sweepstakes get a little bit more interesting. But I have a feeling that even if Dustin wins, Khabib's going to take a pound of flesh from him no matter what.
Yeah, I think so too. It's got to be a back and forth. I mean, it's always possible that Khabib just gets starched, but I don't think so. I think Poirier, and I think Poirier knows that. I think, entering the Gaethje fight, he said something like, I know I'm going to leave a piece of myself in there. I feel like he probably feels the same way about it with the Khabib fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's call that a day.